Hi, my name is Cheyenne. We have Joanna, Mark, and Ricardo. We're going to be presenting on the Lakers. Our first recommendation is to develop an official Lakers fan subscription box that's offered on a seasonal monthly platform. It would be based off of the NBA season, which is approximately 6 months, beginning mid-October to early April. So fans can have an NBA Lakers courtside fan experience with super cool items. There's going to be 4 components to it. The first one is the official licensed NBA Lakers merchandise, which offers lanyards, collectible items, and much more. The second component is promotional offers, which would include discounts towards food, parking, seats, and even upgrading your seats. The third component would be raffles, which will give the fans an opportunity to have meet and greets with their favorite players or a player, and also possibly receive autographed items. The fourth and final component would be a player statistic of choice, where they're able to choose their player that they want of that month that would have their statistics for that season or the previous season in their picture. It will also be autographed. So on to the analysis. So we surveyed a sample size of 40 fans, and we asked them if they would subscribe to the Laker fan box. Approximately 48% was a highly likely, 27% was a likely, 14% was unlikely, and 11% was uncertain. The subscription industry is a growing, maturing industry, but it consists of primarily 16% of the younger millennials, college students, and college graduates, which also leads to the majority of it being 55% of females. So the profitability, the Lakers Phantom subscription would have an estimate of $20 million in investments. This industry is phenomenally growing from $57 million to $2.6 billion. Amazing. With an average of 200,000 average subscribers, and charging a premium price of $40 per box monthly, with the profit being at approximately $12 million annually, and would also create steady income throughout the year.
So the next recommendation is to increase the price for season ticket holders. Since the willingness to pay is high due to the loyal fan base, the consumers have low bargaining power because the Lakers brand name creates high power as a supplier. The value of the ticket should match their willingness to pay by decreasing the difference in buyer value, and the Lakers would benefit from the intangible resource of reputation because they were able to obtain a competitive advantage that is hard to imitate due to their specific location, culture, and brand recognition that has accumulated throughout 72 seasons. The Lakers should charge a higher price because of the accumulated years of positive brand recognition, and that's the key ingredient for retro marketing, which is a method which connects their fans to the past. So we conducted an interview with Akila Locke, the coordinator of box office operations for the Lakers, and she predicts that the season ticket sales will not be decreasing anytime soon due to the Lakers' loyal fan base. Right now, there's over 5,000 fans on the waitlist to become a season ticket holder, and the occupancy rate is consistently over 98% for the fans that are attending home games, and the NBA revenue has been increasing steadily as well ever since 2001 to 2018, from $2.66 billion to $8.76 billion. And the Lakers are one of the top 3 teams to generate revenue over $400 million. So we predict that this idea will bring in a significant amount of profit because there's no cost incurred for this recommendation since the venue is already secured, so there will only be a higher profit margin. According to Akila, the Staples Center enforces variable pricing depending on the seat location, opponent, date, and demand. So in 2019 to 2020, the average ticket price was $171 to $2,512. The revenue was $434 million. The operating income was $178 million. So for an example, we could have a fixed price of 5% increase, then we're going to multiply to increase the price, and we have a range of $179 to $2,637 per ticket. So the revenue increase will be $21.7 million, and the operating income will be $8.9 million. And on to the next recommendation, which will be to utilize courtside seats. So this will be a technique of using influencer marketing, which will connect their followers with the Lakers because of their influence over their decision-making process. So the Lakers should consider this recommendation because of their current method of broadcast advertising, which may not be reaching far enough since the threat of substitutes are high within broadcasting. Many consumers have already decided to cut the cord and they stop listening to the radio because they own a subscription-based streaming service. Multiple social media users have sustained growth over the past 2 years of about 2 billion internet users. So right now, the influencer marketing industry is to be worth $15 billion compared to 8 billion in 2012. So it's bound to grow, and 89% of marketers find the ROI from influencer marketing to be comparable or better than other methods. Right now, 40% of laptops have an ad blocking software, but using influencer marketing, they can bypass that easily. And glancing over the Los Angeles Lakers ad specs, they still broadcast on radio and TV. They have social media, but consumers will only follow if they like the sport. In just 2018, there were 27.1 million cord cutters in the US, and 77.2% of cord cutters pay for online streaming services now. So we could see that traditional advertising is becoming outdated. So to calculate the profit for this, we have to take in the cost of the courtside seats tickets, which is going to be $100,000 per seat per season. And what we're going to do is keep track of attendance and the occupancy rate after an influencer has attended a game to see if the attendance increases. And if so, then we're going to raise the prices and use the exact same example of a fixed 5% increase with the same range of $179 to $2,637, which will be an increase of $8.7 million after calculating costs into there.
So for our next recommendation, we're going to do a private club. So the private club is going to be pretty much like a networking environment for all Laker fans. We're really targeting on being private and exclusive. And it's going to be actually really unique from all other teams because we're going to be the only team that's offering that at the moment. Now for our analysis, so we're going to be targeting the wealthy cities like Beverly Hills and Newport Beach, primarily Newport Beach because their median household income is $122,000, and for Beverly Hills is around $103,000. Also, studies show that rooting for the same team forms a sense of comfort and it makes you feel like you belong somewhere, you belong to something. So that's another reason why we want to implement this idea. And also the Lakers are the second richest NBA team. They have the capital to expand. Not a lot of teams do have that. So Lakers could have that option of taking that risk and expanding, taking a different route that other teams can't afford. And now for the profitability. So for the cost of a membership is around $30,000 per year. And we're looking at 300 members to max out. So it's looking at revenue of $9 million for 1 year. For our sales and food is looking around $2 million. So there's a building in Newport Beach that's for sale and we're looking to buy it. And that costs around $8.5 million, but that won't really be an expense because we're just gonna grow our assets as a whole. But we are gonna renovate it and that's gonna cost around $4 million just so the members see it's gonna be state of the art. It's gonna be amazing, beautiful. Then we're going to partner up with local country clubs and pay around $2 million a year. So for the times that the season is done with or the Lakers aren't playing anymore, we want to give the members an incentive of keeping the membership. So we're going to pick 3 golf courses that they can play golf whenever they want. So it's like a country club. We're going to look at Newport Beach, Huntington Beach, and Costa Mesa. So it's around the area of the country club. Food and beverages and payroll is looking around 1.7 million per year. And televisions, because we are going to have a lot of televisions, and our services is looking around 300,000 for a year. And then marketing, we're going to really market to the wealthy, and we really want all our fans to know that we are unique and we have something that other teams don't. So that's going to cost around 500,000. So our first year isn't going to be the best. We're not going to make as much profit as our following year. So for the first year, we're looking around 2.2 million in profit, but that's because we have a big cost of renovation of 4 million. But for our second year, our profitability is looking around 6.2 million due to the fact that we're cutting off that renovation cost that we don't, since the buildings are going to be the way we want it. Now for the next recommendation, I'm going to pass it on to Ricardo.
So for the next recommendation, we have the Staples Center app. So for this app, it's going to be a free app available on Android, Google Play, and the iOS store. And it's an app that we're going to be partnering with the Staples Center so that we can cut costs by half. This app is going to be an app that allows sporting event attendees to order food ahead of time, and they may choose to have it delivered at 3 4-minute intervals within each quarter. Obviously, each quarter is 12 minutes long, and they can choose at which of the 3 intervals to have their food delivered. So for the first 3 quarters, there will be a 12% fee attached to each order. For the 4th quarter, because it's at the end of the game, we realize that a lot of attendees are just probably looking for refreshments. There will be a smaller fee of 7% attached to their orders. For the analysis, we found that from a study from Oracle Food and Beverage, 94% of respondents said that they buy food and beverage at a sporting event. And of those 94, 58% said they would actually spend more on the food if it meant that they were able to cut the time in half that they wait in line. Per that same study, 68% said they were highly interested in using a mobile app to order food and beverage. Additionally, this would allow us to increase the quality of our food. As we found out through a lot of Yelp reviews, there was a lot of people complaining that the food seemed cold or pre-made. Now, for profitability, as a total investment, it would require $150,000 to create it and 9 months of time in order to create it. The only annual recurring cost would be for maintenance, which is about $36,000, but again, we're only paying half, so $18,750. So for the first year, we're actually looking at $75,000 to pay for the app. Lastly, we do have our total revenue coming in at $9.2 million, but after the split between the vendor and the stadium, and then we get half of the revenue from the stadium, we're only looking at retaining about $1.53 million.
For our next recommendation, we're going to do open practice. So open practice is going to be only open during scrimmages and shoot-arounds. We don't want them to be exposed when they're practicing plays and things like that, because at the end of the day, we don't know who's actually viewing the players. It could be another team. So we're mainly focusing on fans, but we can't control that. Also, we want to make it affordable for all fans. We understand that ticket prices for our games can be a little pricey, so we feel like this is a good alternative for our fans to go to. They can still see their favorite players, still kind of get the experience of being in the Staples Center and seeing the environment, seeing the championship flags and all that. And also, we mainly want to attract the youth, because we understand that when people are young and they get exposed to something, it's most likely they're going to keep that fandom for the rest of their lives, and it's going to keep going and going and going. Now for our analysis. So NBA as a whole has been growing in revenue throughout the years. In the year 2007-2008, it made around $3.7 billion in revenue. In the last season, 2018-2019 season, it made $8.7 billion. So you see that the NBA has been growing no matter what, and has actually been growing in exposure as well. As for it's the most popular league for all teams from 7 to 11-year-olds. Second is the NFL, third is the MLB, and then the list goes on. And then Lakers as a whole has been growing in revenue as well. Even through losing seasons, there's been many years that the Lakers haven't made the playoffs. Last time they won a championship was 2010. So you can still see the fan loyalty is there. They still want to see the Lakers. They still want to support them. And we still attract really good players like LeBron James and Anthony Davis were just acquired a couple years ago. So the Lakers have the whole brand of LA, which is going to keep continuing as the years go on. And now for profit. So our average ticket price is going to be around $9, $10 for adults, $8 for children and senior citizens and any veterans. We're looking around 2,500 attendees, making a total revenue of $22,500. But we're also going to include food sales, which is going to average out to $8 per fan, looking around $20,000 for that. Our cost is going to be $20,000. And the reason why our cost is so high is because we still need to pay the employees that work at the Staples Center. We're looking at around 3 hours, 3-hour shift. And the average Staples Center employee makes around $15.22. The Lakers and we're also going to include $3,000 in marketing. Make sure all our fans are aware that we're doing this. We're opening practices to fans. Not a lot of teams do that, and especially at a low rate that we're offering. And there's going to be 34 practices that we're going to be offering that to. We understand the NBA season is 19 weeks. We're going to just target 17 weeks, 2 practices per week. We're looking around a potential profit of $765,000 per season. And that's money that the Lakers are missing out on because, they're practicing. They have to practice regardless. So why not let the fans see them for an hour?
All right, and on to our next recommendation. So for our next one, we decided to have the Lakers extend the age bracket for the Lakers youth basketball camps. So we analyzed 6 additional camps, and majority of them, including the Lakers, only had an age bracket between the ages of 8 to 16. And so with that being said, we want to extend it to the age of 19. And by implementing the extended of the age bracket, it allows more youth to participate and enables positive impacts and skill techniques, helping them to compete in both the field and in life. So on to the analysis. So we conducted a survey with a sample size of 25 adolescents, and we asked them if they would join the Lakers basketball camp between the ages of 17 and 19. That's addition to them being from 8 to 19, but that's just that extended age. With that being said, 65% said that they would join, 19 unlikely, and 16 were uncertain of what they would choose. Only 3.5% high school basketball players move on to play NCAA at universities, and 3.4% of the boys and 4% of the girls who play basketball will earn an NCAA scholarship. For the profitability, it depends on the size and the prestige of the basketball camps. Fees could range anywhere from $100 to $1,000 for a few days of training, but it's all savage. So for our basketball camp, we're going to go ahead and charge $500 with the exclusivity of 150 players. With that profit margin being at 30%, it leaves our median revenue at $75,000 and our profit of $22,500 annually.
So for our next recommendation, we have the donations and the event, the dining event. So we'll be having 3 yearly donations of each having a goal of $20,000 made to 3 distinctive charities, a place called Home, the Art of Elysium, and Shelter Partnership, Inc. So for the dining event, we would actually invite overperforming and underprivileged youth and their families. We think that it's important that both type of students end up seeing what education and higher education can help to motivate them to succeed in their communities. And with the event, they'll be able to participate in basketball challenges, take photo opportunities with their favorite NBA players, and there will be guest speakers as well. So now for the analysis. So according to a Cone Cause Evolution study, Americans would rather support a company that makes long-term commitments to charities that they find are relevant or prevalent within their communities. And we found that Angelenos support charities that help the homeless and the underprivileged youth. Additionally, from that same study, we found that a charity leads consumers to believe that products are of better quality. In other words, we would have an opportunity to possibly increase our ticket prices. And additionally, another article from Corporate Eye said that consumers would like to reward companies that are socially conscious. And for profitability, we think that we'll be having a short-term loss of $21,500, mainly because of the event, or there's no money being raised for it. For the donations, we would be raising money. However, we feel that because the Lakers already have an annual charity event for their youth basketball camp, we feel that donators won't be likely to continue their support with 3 other charities throughout the year. For this reason, this is our last recommendation because it's going to have a short-term loss. However, we feel that the benefit in the long term is greater because we'll be able to increase our brand loyalty and also create a new core fan base of a younger generation coming up. And that was our last recommendation. Hopefully you liked our presentation.